Patient came to me exhausted, gaining weight and suffering from lower back pain. Their GP said everything seemed normal. And this is the problem with most health checks. Most health checks only involve weighing you, doing your blood pressure, heart rate, and maybe some routine bloods. Then if everything looks normal or even slightly abnormal, you're on your way, no closer to understanding what your health is actually like. It is merely a tick box exercise, and in my opinion, it benefits the system over the patient. All that said, I'm going to go through some key aspects that should be included to your health check, and if you can seek it through other ways, then it will benefit you going forward. Number one is knowing your body fat percentage, and like I said, you will have your weight done and even BMI when you go to most health checks, but knowing that doesn't give you much information. You could be an 80 kilogram man with a lot of lean mass, or you could be an 80 kilogram man with a lot of fat mass. Two different health outcomes. The idea is that you want to have as low of a body fat percentage as possible that you can sustain, because having a higher percentage of lean mass gives you greater metabolic function and reduces your risk of any complications or chronic conditions. But the issue is that your weight and BMI are prioritized by the health and fitness industry, when in reality it doesn't tell you that much, like I've just said. So the best way to go and get a body fat percentage is by going for a DEXA scan. But if this is not feasible or you don't have access to do so, there is something called bioimpedance analysis, which is where you can hold onto a couple of electronic handles. It passes a current through your body and it gives you a rough estimate of your body fat percentage. Yes, it is not as accurate as a DEXA scan. However, it will give you the ability to look at trends over time, which I will come on to is more important than actually knowing your true results at one snapshot. Now, the second point is having your VO2 max tested. And if you don't have access to doing that, your FTP, which is your functional threshold power. Now, VO2 max is the maximum amount of oxygen that your body can utilize during physical activity. But what's the importance of this? Well, if your body is able to utilize more oxygen for more amount of time, then you are able to carry out a higher amount of activity. A lot of the processes in your body involve oxygen. So if you are not able to utilize oxygen to high amounts, then your functionality will decrease. And this is what you can do. You can look at what functionality you want later on in life, whether that be to walk up a set of stairs, hike a mountain, or do general physical activities. And you can extrapolate what you need to have as your VO2 max now. But like I said, not many people have access to VO2 max testing. And to be honest, it is quite strenuous and it's a daunting process, because you have to go on a treadmill or bike and basically push yourself to the limits physically. So that's where FTP comes in, which is functional threshold power. Now, this is a bit different because it doesn't measure the amount of oxygen that your body can utilize, but it is the maximum amount of output or power that you can produce in 1 hour. So to produce your maximum power output, past the point you will not be using oxygen and you will be building up lactate. So that's why it's slightly different. However, you've got more access to doing so, which can be done on a spin bike. And there's a lot of companies such as Peloton where you can do it in the comfort of your own home. Again, it follows the same trend in terms of it isn't comfortable to doing it, and it does take 20 minutes, so you have to physically be involved in it. But the benefits of knowing your FTP, but primarily VO2 max, is of great benefit because you can see where your physical functionality is going. Now, the third point is getting a blood test. Some routine health checks do include blood tests, but they normally cover generic things such as a full blood count, liver function test, kidneys, sometimes a cholesterol profile, which are all good. However, a lot of the issues with these blood tests is that the ranges that are used will say that you are normal amongst the population that you were tested in, which is different from being optimal. And that's the key difference, because what's normal for a population may not be normal for you or optimal for your bodily functions. So that is where you need to ideally get a set of results over a period of time and see how you feel when your values are at certain limits. But by researching the results that you are getting, you can then see what should be optimal, which will be different to what is classed as normal on the blood test that you get. But in addition to the test that you've had done, you would like to get the following checked. So omega-3 index, you would want LP(a), ApoB, high sensitivity CRP, and to ensure that all your vitamins and minerals are being checked. The reason being is that these will give you greater preventative insights, and like I said, the earlier on that you act on your health will give you the greatest return. Same with anything in life. Final point is psychological well-being, and the issue is that a lot of these health checks focus primarily on physical health, but as we know, mental health disorders are on the rise. The issue with mental health is that it is a subjective matter, in the sense that there is nothing that we can objectively compare it against for each individual, and it is up to them to describe to us how they feel, and their management may be completely different to how we manage someone else. But there are a couple of things that we can use to assess where they are in terms of depression, low mood or anxiety, and they involve a GAD-7 questionnaire or a PHQ-9. Like I said, it's subjective, but at least it's giving us an early intervention and potentially stopping something from manifesting over the long term. Now, as we know, health checks are generally left until later on in life, which is confusing because a lot of these health conditions manifest over 5 to 10, even more years. So why don't we act earlier on? If someone knew how their health was in their 20s or 30s, would that then give them the tools to prevent them going into chronic conditions later on in life? I think the answer would be yes. But the issue we've got here is, in the first case, if you are not over a certain age, then you will have limited access to these health checks. So the first hurdle is to actually get a blood test and a health check in the first place. The second issue that we will have is to then get a trend, which is multiple results or health checks over a certain period of time. But this is where the importance lies, because if you know where you start as your baseline and then how you implement changes going forward and how your body and health react to this, it will give you the greatest insights going forward, as opposed to one snapshot of a health check in time, because anything can change over a short period of time. But the biggest take home point from this video is to invest in your health as early as you can, because you will gain the greatest rewards the earlier that you act. Now, a disclaimer to end the video is that this does not constitute as health and medical advice, and you should always seek your health provider. And if you've got this far, thanks for watching, and any suggestions, leave them below.